Welcome to today's Daf HaYomi B'Halacha, in which we are going to be learning through the Dirshu exams as well as utilizing the Dirshu Mishnah Brura. Today we're going to be discussing the three main topics, which will be what are the Sheish Mitzvos to Midos, what are the Mitzvos that are constant. The second question we're going to be discussing today is what is the method to achieve Avas Hashem, and we're also going to address the question, must one wash his hands if he wakes up in the middle of the night? So let us begin. Hilchas Hanhagas Adam B'Boker, how a person is supposed to behave and conduct themselves in the morning. Din Hashkamas B'Boker, there are 9 sifim. We are going to be learning day by day in accordance to the breakup of how Dirshu is going to be learning per day. So let's begin with Sif Aleph. Yisgaber Ka'ari, a person should get up strong like a lion, Lamoid B'Boker, to stand up in the morning, Lavoides Baro, Shehu M'orer HaShachar, that you should awake in the morning. You shouldn't just stay in your bed and sleep. On this, we'll always see all the Mishnah Brura and certain Ber Halacha and most of the Biurim Umusaf. So let's look at the Mishnah Brura. Lavodes Baira. Kilakach Nibra Oyam. This is how the world was created. Kamosh Amar HaKasav. Kol HaNikra B'Shmi L'chvaydi B'Rosiv. V'af im Yashienu Yitzru B'Chayref Loimer Ich Tama B'Boiker Ki Akar Gadol. The Yetzer Hara is always trying to get the best of us. And when it's freezing out, let's say stay under the blankets, it's too cold. In the summer will come up with other excuses. There's always an excuse that you're still tired. In the summer, he's Gabriel, you should strengthen yourself. Don't listen to the Yetzer Hara. But you should think to yourself, if you needed to serve a regular king, a powerful person, you would get up early, and you would prepare yourself to serve. So if you have that machshava to realize if there's a prominent person that would be meeting today, then I certainly would get up and I wouldn't delay it. So certainly when it comes to Hashem and our avodas Hashem. Fine. So we're supposed to awaken the Shachar in the morning. On this, it continues in the Mishnah Brura, B'shla kasav soid. The Shla says a tremendous yisoid. He says, L'chaber yom v'layla b'torah u'b'tefillah. You should connect day and night in Torah or davening. Hein b'boiker, hein b'erev. And miyad, kishiyas oyrer mishnasa, when you wake up from your sleep, in a right salishain, and you don't want to sleep anymore, yitel yadav, you should wash your hands. Av shenishar mushkav. We'll see what that means in a moment. Mikol shekain shel yelech arba amos bli netilas yadayim. You have to be careful. You shouldn't even walk daled amos without washing. V'sarach ma'od l'zar b'zeh. You have to be very careful. U'zahar kadosh, the Zohar maflig avur zeh ba'oin shel ma'oid kihu mashal atzma ruach hatuma. So he says it's a very big problem because you're walking around with tamei hands, and you should wash immediately. Let's say a person needs to use the bathroom, so there can be an exception for that before you wash. Or to take water to prepare for your friend. To morasam acherim, yesh nichshol b'zeh. There are people that stumble in this. Im era shahamayim rechaykim. Let's say you realize the water's far away. Ve'en lo mi shekarbim elav. No one can bring the water close to you. Nahagu ksas mibali hanefesh shahayichin pachos merab amos. So similar to like in the Rosh Hashanah on Shabbos, you just instead of going arba amos in one shot, you stop, you walk, you stop. Because of a shar tshuva al zeh. The Shari Tshuva says this really doesn't work. The Adav Yoiser She'elchel B'Merutza Shul Hashes Ruach Ral Yadav. instead of you spending all this extra time stopping, better you should just go. Yesh Amrim Dul Inyan Zeh Amrinan Kol Besa Kedalad Amos Dami. It's an interesting chiddush that your whole house is like Dalad Amos. We don't rely on this. We don't really want you to do this. It's better that you should wash immediately. If it turns out so if let's say it turns out when you get up at night you don't have water to wash your hands properly, to remove the ruach hatuma, better that you should learn Torah. We don't want you to not learn. Wash a little bit. Or you can like rub your hands on something that will get your hands clean. So this is an eitzah that a person should do this. Okay, fine. Right there in the Ramah, Haggah says, a person should not delay so long in his sleep that he ends up missing davening. That we should envision Hashem's in front of us. The way that a person envisions being in front of a king, you act a certain way, you present yourself in a certain way. When you're sitting in front of a king, you act differently than the way you would act among other people. When you put into your heart, he completes and fills the world. He sees your actions. Hashem sees everything. So miyad yegia elav hayira, all of a sudden you'll be filled with fear. Next page 8. And you'll end up being embarrassed to not want to serve Hashem properly. So that's actually as far as we're going to go today in the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah. We'll continue with the next part tomorrow. So let's continue by looking at the words of the Mishnah Brura. So let's finish. We finished the Mishnah Brura, and then we're going to see these three questions that I addressed. So the Mishnah Brura says, let's see. Okay, so Shatzibra Mispalin. Hanhu afal pi shlo yavar zman tefillah mikol makom mitzvah im hatzibor. It's a mitzvah to daven l'tzibor, etc. Hatzadikim dahainu sheitzayer benafshu tamid ach shehu oymi lefnei Hashem yisbarach yikadosh baruch hu molik haaretz kavodo because of Hashem Ari sheitzayer shem havaya tamid neged einov benikud yira kozeh, that he would always like envision Hashem like it's written like this: Yud, Hey, and Vav, and Hey. V'zeh Soid Shavis Hashem Nedi Samid. V'zeh to Elis Gadol Inyan Hayira. This is a tremendous element of fear. V'yesh Shahoyu Ragil Machamazeh Lasos Menoiras Shel Klaf Mitsuyarim Haniach B'Sidurim. The Kos Mehem Shavis Hashem Negdi. This is a pasuk that we see constantly, which has Hashem's name, Ben Arba Osios Ushar Shemos. Menar Kazel Ha'is Nikras B'Shem Shavisi. V'tamhu b'chdei she'en nizkar shel asiach sicha b'teila b'toich tefillah emas Hashem. So when you look at that, you're not going to end up just talking or doing things which are not proper during davening. And he quotes the Shari Tshuva b'shem hatvunas shor shiroi la'azar chaylo vatal haminag ki alpi haroiv einu mishamrim as a klaf karoi. He says it's a concern that maybe some people are not going to use this parchment properly. They may end up not dealing with it properly and has Hashem's name on it. It could lead to mechikas Hashem. V'nira da hamanaris hagadolos hamatzioris al klaf shekoivim beis hakneses lefnei omud tachas tavla shel zechuches shein shach mizet tam hanal leislin ba ad kan l'shayna. So if it's something which you're not concerned is going to get ruined, that's okay. V'koivin ba'omud shlo tavla yesh lemchis biyadam ki alidi haneres shekoivin ba'omud bo roiva itikim lidei mechikas Hashem chas v'shalom. So we're going to stop there in the Mishnah Berurah. But again, some people have Hashem's name on a paper, but the problem is, even though it hopefully will get you to do tshuva and to daven properly and to daven with proper kavanah, but the concern is that it's shaykh that it may end up mechikas Hashem. Okay, so the first question that we asked are, what are the Sheish Mitzvos Tamidos? So this is actually found in the Bir Halacha, who klal gadol b'Torah. So let's read what Dirshu wrote first. There are 6 mitzvos tamidos, 6 constant mitzvos, which a person is always obligated to fulfill. They are the obligation to believe that Hashem created the world, that He is the sole sustainer of the world, that He was always and will be forever, that He took us out of Mitzrayim, and that He gave us the Torah. A prohibition against believing in any power other than Hashem, the mitzvah to believe in the oneness of Hashem, the mitzvah to love Hashem. One who fixates on earthly and frivolous matters transgresses this commandment. The mitzvah to always maintain a fear of heaven, the prohibition against straying after one's eyes and heart. So this is what's mentioned in great length over here in this Bir Halacha. Now, if actually it does say in the Bir Halacha on the next page, V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha, Keitzi Yagiel Adam Lahava, how do you get to loving Hashem? Hu al yidei haTorah, through learning Torah. That's what it says. V'hayu advar mo'el asher nochim etzabecha hayom al vavecha. She'al yidei his baininus b'Torah. When a person learns Torah, yakres kedulaso shel Kadosh Baruch Hu. You recognize the greatness of Hashem. This yashiv ha'ava b'libo b'hachrich. The person will end up having a close connection to Hashem. So again, this is a very important Bir Halacha, which again discusses these Sheish Mitzvos Tamidos. Now, let's discuss the second question that Dirshu posed. What is the method to achieve Avas Hashem? So how does one go about doing this? So this, actually, it is in the Bi'urim Umusafim, which is on number 17. It says as follows. V'afal pi shemitzvah timidosi, even though it's a constant mitzvah to love Hashem, mikol malkam mishas kriya shema, at the time when you say the Shema, yesh chiyuv miyuchad lachshav al kach, then you should certainly think about the idea of loving Hashem. Even though, again, that is one of the mitzvahs timidos, which we said is mitzvah number 4 of the 6. But at least when you say the Shema, that's an opportunity. Kamoshe Kosov, Mishnah Berurah, Kaman, B'Shem Bal Hachrodim, Shebeshash Omer V'Yohavta. When a person says the word V'Yohavta, Yirul Hachnes Avas Hashem B'Libo. You should put Hashem, you should have the love of Hashem in your heart. Kadesh Le'Hei Dovish Shkarim. Because if you don't feel the love in your heart, it's almost like you're lying. You're saying something which isn't true. It's hard. If you can't do it then, at the very least, have a feeling, I love Hashem, at least afterwards. It's better to do this before you eat. That you should do all these mitzvahs again before you eat. So let's see how he writes it here. One of the above mentioned mitzvos is Ahavas Hashem. This mitzvah sourced in the verse V'ahavta es Hashem is achieved through intense Torah study. When this pasuk is said during Kriya Shema, one should arouse in his heart a feeling of love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If this is difficult to achieve during Shema, one should think about Avas Hashem at least once during the day after davening. As in the case with certain other mitzvos, this should preferably be done before eating. Okay, so finally we have the third question that was posed, which is, must one wash his hands if he wakes up in the middle of the night? So this is in the Bi'urim Umusafin 3 and 4. He says like this. V'hokim be'emsa halayla v'daita lakser miyad lishoin. A person who gets up in the middle and his das is to go back to sleep immediately. So on this, he says, you could actually go, if you wake up and you're going back to sleep, you're allowed to do this without washing your hands. Furthermore, he says, Kosav sheheter zehu rak b'layl. It's only at night. But if, let's say, you got up in the morning already, then we say this heter does not apply. So let's see what he writes over here. Upon waking in the morning, a person must wash netilas yadayim. Ideally, this should be done even before getting out of bed. Certainly, a person should not walk more than 4 amos before washing his hands. If washing would divert him from tending to his bodily needs and thereby cause him to transgress bal teshaksu, he should take care of his needs first and then wash his hands, which is actually what the Mishnah Berurah said. One who does not have water nearby should walk as fast as he can to get water and wash. One who rises in the middle of the night but plans to go back to sleep does not need to wash his hands. Some say that it is proper to be stringent and wash even in this case. Okay, fine. So those are the 3 basic questions on this daf. Again, if we look in the Biurim Umusafim, when it says Mikomak Mitzvah Imat Tzibor, he says B'masha Hayil Chabeis Hachneses Yeshlo Schar Keneged Hapsios. You should recognize that depending on how many steps you take, is going to you'll get more schar. Mikomakam Kemish Mispali Matzibor Misal Tfilaso Afil B'Sheinu B'Kavana Kokach. Even if a person doesn't have the greatest level of kavana, nonetheless, it's better. At least he's davening b'tzibor. Okay, let's look at a question over here from 7 years ago. What is the din if one got up during the night and does not plan to go back to sleep and has no water to wash his hands? So the answer is he should clean his hands with anything that cleans, and he may say brachos and learn Torah. Because, as we said, better that he should get up, and even though he may not have the best situation of washing his hands, but it's better, at least this way he's going to learn Torah. Because otherwise, he's going to end up not learning. Chas v'sholom, that's not something which one should do. Ad kan.